You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
ECU, Pirate Nation, Purple and Gold family, stand to your feet, put your crossbones up, and lean side to side, yeah, and lean side to side, yeah, and lean side to side, come on, yeah, welcome to the island, man, it's crazy in here, a whole sea of purple and gold waving in.
Welcome into the Pirate Football Playback. Another loss for the Pirates as SMU comes in on a Thursday night and they win 31-10 over the Pirates. Welcome into we'll see how this show goes. Pirate Football Playback. We would love to have a victory tonight. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from the great town and city of LaGrange. It's Kyle Barber.
What's going on, Dave? Another week, another loss, another lackluster performance by the offense, and now we get ready for the Fighting Biff Pogies. We'll see what happens.
Hey, Bubba Rosenbaum at China Grove, are you okay, man?
Doing well. Enjoyed watching some college football yesterday. Yeah, it was tough on Thursday night. Made the trip down and back, and left right after school, a little after 3:00, and got back about 3 a.m. But yeah, very proud of the defense. The defense, arguably the best we've had since 2009.
Agreed.
But the offense, unfortunately, thus far has been also more extreme than that in a bad sense. Obviously, probably the worst we've had in the modern era.
And let's bring in from the great Commonwealth of Connecticut, and that would be Matt Semenza. What's up, dude?
What's up, guys? I was joking around with you guys earlier on Friday night, and I needed a therapy couch, like a leather bound sofa with that I could lay down on with a pillow and a therapist and
that's the show, bro.
A few stiff drinks, because that offensive display was putrid. But to Bubba's point, on the flip side, our secondary, outside of one or two plays, played as well as we've seen at ECU in many years.
Yes.
There were times when we had people, the quarterback was literally rolling in the pocket for 7-8 seconds, and we covered up on the back end, which is pretty impressive. And so on one hand, you have a defense that played really well, and like Bubba said, just an offense that can't get out of its own way right now.
No doubt. By the way, I want to remind fans, our great Pirate Football Playback is brought to you by L&K Custom Homes. Want to give a shout out to our good friend Kevin KK Walker. Bubba, we need to get Kevin on here pretty soon. We haven't talked to him in a good while. KK is a friend of the show. Appreciate his support of the program of the Pirate Football Playback for the last few years. He's a general contractor, and KK, whenever I win the Powerball, I'm trying really hard. Then you can take over my house for however long it needs to for the cosmetic upgrades of good bones, but need some cosmetic stuff done. Give Kevin a call if you're ready to for all his great work at 336-688-8461. And guys, one of the things we're done with the first half of the season. We're through game 6 now. Before we dissect the game, I just want to ask you guys, what do you first see? I'm going to get, I know what it is, but I'm going on purpose. I'm going to put this out there for the public. What do you see the second half of the season? We'll start with I know you have a crystal ball, Kyle. What do you see in the second half of the season?
Hopefully improvement. I don't know how much offensive improvement we can have realistically. Realistic prediction, I think we find a way to win 2 more games. I hope
so. Scotty Montgomery stuff.
3-9. So that's my prediction, and I'm almost hopeful of that. I'm almost hopeful we go 3. I'm not. Let me rephrase that. I'm hopeful we win out, but that's not going to happen. 1-11 or 2-10 is a very real possibility if we don't turn around on offense. At this point, I'm going to say 3-9. We make some slight improvements on offense, just enough to with our defense playing well to get us 2 wins, and major staff overhaul at the end of the season on the offensive side of the ball, and we better be hitting that portal hard.
Bubba, what do you think?
I agree with Kyle. I mean, anywhere. Are there other games that should we show some offensive improvement that we can win? Definitely there are, but based on what I've seen so far, and unless we significantly improve our execution, but then also change the way we're going about things. As far as how we're utilizing Mason, maybe implementing some more sprint out passing and things of that nature to take advantage of his skill set, at least what we perceive to be his skill set, and the things that he does well, then it wouldn't shock me if we didn't win another game. And I know we'll dive into the Charlotte matchup a little bit later on, and then we'll, of course, have our more in-depth look at the Pirates and 49ers on Tuesday night. But I was a little surprised, honestly, when that line came out and it was Pirates -9. It quickly moved to Pirates -7.5. And obviously the reason why is just our offensive struggles. We've not scored more than 17 points against an FBS opponent. And Charlotte has a pretty good defense, very respectable on that side of the ball. And I would have thought more like
3 to 5,
3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be happy to win it by 1. If we cover that original spread, I'll be pickled. I'll be shickled. Damn it! I'll be shickled pickless. That's what I'm trying to say.
Matt, he was actually in the pickle juice, I think. Matt, what do you think about the second half of the season and the game on Saturday? I know that your favorite team is Charlotte, so you got to be torn this week with your favorite team.
Torn.
Your favorite coach too.
Yeah. Well, I agree with everything the guys said so far, and I think the good news for East Carolina, when you look at the second half of the season, the schedule does lighten up a little bit.
Yep.
And when you look at the opponents,
but does it really?
Yeah, it does.
Well, so when you look at the opponents, there's nobody that I would say scares me. But
Tulane don't scare you.
Tulane. I'll give you Tulane.
UTSA with Frank Harris won't scare you.
UTSA doesn't really scare me, honestly.
With Frank Harris?
Nah, they're a better team, obviously, with them, but they don't scare me.
They're not like last year.
Okay. There's a but, though. There's a but coming, and the but is, so, as I say, I'm not really scared of the schedule, but here's the issue. When you're this inept offensively, it doesn't matter who you play. When you're this inept and you can't score, every game's going to be a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the schedule does lighten up, fellas, every game is going to be a struggle until we can figure out some ways to score. And one of the things we wanted to do tonight is, because you read all the message boards, you hear the complaints, and it's always like the offense sucks, the play calling sucks, and a lot of that is true. One of the things we wanted to talk about tonight is to, it's easy to say we should do this, we should do that, but tonight we're going to talk about examples, things that we see that we really feel like could help this offense. And, when you look at Mason Garcia, we'll get into that later, but one good thing that came out of that game the other night, when you really go back and watch it, is that you can see 2 or 3 things that he does well in areas that he's comfortable in. And like when you look at his comfort level, it's very limited right now. Like there's only a few things he's comfortable with, but I think we were able to identify 2 or 3 areas where he does look more comfortable, and maybe he can thrive in the second half of the season. But those are big ifs.
Matt, would you start him the second half of the season? Do you think Flynn has kind of reached his ceiling?
I do, Kyle. I mean, I've been calling for Flynn, but I think it's almost like, forget even week to week, it's almost quarter to quarter with these guys.
Yeah.
But I do feel like now I'm kind of at the stage after this game where I feel like we've seen enough out of Flynn. I feel like Mason, I think we need to roll with him now. I really do. And call me crazy. I'm not hesitating to burn and Kyle, I know you agree with this.
Jason Nichols suggested that we start Garcia and make Raheem Jeter the backup going forward.
Yeah, I agree with that 1,000. That was
totally
one of my things, because I was going to tell you guys, if they don't get any better, I would put Jeter definitely in the last 3 games that he's already played one. So the games 10, 11, and 12, you can definitely.
I wouldn't worry about it. If he can if he gives us the best chance to win now, go and play him now. You can't in the day and age of the transfer portal. If you're worrying about red shirts, you're an idiot, particularly at the quarterback position.
Well, yep. I think Jeter has a lot of talent. He was a lot taller than what I expected, a lot more athletic. I heard he was athletic, but on the field. But if I have faith in this team. I'm going to wait until the second half of the season. I put down 4-8 or 5-7. I look at the schedule, and I think if I would love to be, or maybe I wouldn't fly on the wall when it comes to the coaches' meetings, but they've got to offensively, they can open it up. And I mean, guys, what do we have to lose? I will tell you where I agree with you guys is there's no urgency with this staff. It's like they say that they're upset, but we're 1-5. And so to me, I would be going for broke. I've talked about it. How many weeks you guys are tired of hearing me talk about trick plays? I'm not talking about throw everything gadget plays, some people call them, but there's always, like Kyle says, and we agree 1,000% there. It's all about timing. And, Matt, when you had Coach Logan, he was the king of trick plays and going for onside kicks and all kinds of stuff when you least expect it. But anyway, for me personally, I don't understand why you don't go for broke, and especially when you're 1-5. It just seems like they say on one hand that and another thing too that I've heard from the fan base, which I agree 1,000%, and I want to get you guys' take on it. Being close to the program is Mike Houston has never taken responsibility for being 1-5, not that I've heard. And so if he has, forgive me, but I have never heard him as head coach. And you hear any other coach, including when you hear Cliff Godwin, any of them say, I didn't have the team prepared enough. It's my fault. Take accountability. Be responsible. You're the CEO. You're making over $2 million a year. And that's my frustration as far as Houston.
Houston is very arrogant. He's very arrogant. And arrogance is fine when you can back it up. But when you ain't back it up, when you're not backing it up, you better lose some of that cockiness, because it comes across as abrasive to the fan base. And that I think is what Houston and some of that's confidence. Some of that, confidence is arrogance is confidence. But when you're backing it up, people call it confidence.
It's called Coach Prime.
But
Coach Prime.
So a lot of people will point to Biff Poggi. We're playing Charlotte next, and he was all after the game against Navy, taking I don't know what's going on. I got to get this fixed. This is all on me. Well, that's fine and dandy, but when you're preseason pounding on the mother trucking podium at media days, saying there ain't no more questions for us, I know why. You picked us last. Well, we'll show you. And when you're talking trash to Appalachian State coaches in the offseason on Twitter about all the stuff you're going to do, well, he's suddenly become a mighty humble bumble. So I don't buy into this old I don't know if you guys have seen the Pirate fans going, oh, I never thought I'd like Biff Poggi. What? Well, look, when you talked a bunch of trash before the season and now you get shut out by Navy, yeah, he's been humbled. He has been humbled.
Hey, Matt.
So I'm not. So Dave, I don't know if that's why you brought that up about Houston not taking responsibility, because everybody is so impressed with Biff Poggi taking responsibility for being 1-5 at Charlotte. Well, look, if we lose to a man who shows his armpits on national television on a regular basis, I'm done. I am done with Mike Houston. I'm telling you now, and we'll get back to SMU. But I'm just go ahead right now, and I hope he hears this, and I don't give a damn if he never wants to come on this show again. You better not lose to Charlotte, Mike Houston. I'm just telling you now. I will start a camp. I've done it before. I'll do it again. Don't make me get out my mom. Just don't lose to Charlotte. Now we'll move on.
Hey, Matt, Biff Poggi reminds me. I've said this on the show before. If he's not the college version of when Rex Ryan was head coach like of the Jets. We're going to the Super Bowl. And what, buddy, you better back it up. Especially, I know that's the New York media. It's tough, but man, Biff is just. I tell you that, Kyle, you were right. I think he's just a moron. He's an idiot.
No, I don't want to go that far. I don't go that far.
Well,
We do play him this week. We do play him this week. But what I'm saying is he did what you're talking about taking responsibility. He was full on. It's all my fault, and people were impressed by it. Well, I'm not, because I remember what he said before the season, and when he was beating the podium and acting like a fool at media days.
Yeah, well, guys, give me a minute or two on this one, because I was very pissed about the situation with Mike Houston the other night, and I've been very vocal about it. Nothing personal against Mike Houston. I don't know him personally, but very, very annoyed the other night because, and I'll just address the elephant in the room. 6 minutes left in that game. You're down 24-10. All right. You're down 24-10. You have the ball right around, I want to say it was the 38-yard line.
4th and 2.
The 4th and 2. All right. You cannot punt the ball in that situation. You can't do it.
I agree.
That was embarrassing. Honestly, it was gutless. It really
He waved the white
gutless.
flag.
He waved the white flag. I've never seen a coach do that before. Quite
I
honestly,
have, just not in East Carolina.
I'll tell you right now, guys, if I'm a player on that team, especially if I'm on the defensive side and I just fought my ass off all night, and my coach does that, waves the white flag with 6 minutes left, I'm pissed off. I am really pissed off. And I'll tell you, that was one of the worst decisions I've seen in a long time. And it was almost like what are you trying to do there, Coach? Are you trying to make the score appear closer?
Man, I think I can tell you what I think I can tell you what he would tell you.
Pin them back.
Pin them. We're playing good defense. Maybe we force a turnover. We may be better off to have our defense on the field than having our offense on the field. The defense may give us a better chance to score. That's probably what he'll tell you. And that's probably what he was thinking. But it comes across as we're waving the white flag, and the defense responded as such. They gave up at that point.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. And
they've been on the field too much this year.
Too much, way too much, Dave. And they wear down in the fourth quarter as a result.
Yep.
And that's not just physically, that's mentally, because they get so defeated when you're holding the team down for 3 quarters and your offense can't give you any production. You get defeated. But here's the thing I would say to that. And I do agree, Kyle, that is probably what you would get from the coaches on that question. And it really needs to be addressed this week in press conferences. I want to hear that question asked with follow-up questions. But what I would say to that is, if that was the answer back, I would say, Coach, how many possessions did you have tonight offensively, and how many touchdowns did you score? You need every possession you can get to try to score with this offense. You can't just give it away, especially in that situation down 14, fourth and 2. That's a makeable situation.
Especially when what do you have to lose?
You're going to lose anyway. You're going
what
to
the hell?
anyway.
What
exactly?
And wouldn't that have been? You talk about you want to really have some balls. 4th and 2 in that situation, and we hadn't done it all. You take a shot downfield, and somebody would have probably been wide open
because they're expecting for the run.
We've seen that before. We've seen play callers do that before in big spots. And hey, I would have just been happy. And listen, the way the offense was playing, I'm not saying there's a great chance we even get that first down, but I'm going down swinging. Go ahead, Bubba.
Yeah, you talking about taking a shot down the field. And this wasn't even necessarily so much a shot down the field, but I remember back, I guess, pushing 30 years ago now in the early 90s when John Makovic, who coached against the Pirates when he was at Illinois, he had moved on to the University of Texas, and Texas was playing Nebraska in the
Alamo Bowl, right, Bubba?
I believe it was a conference championship game, but ball game was on the line, and I want to say Texas may have had the lead at the time, but it was a situation where they could really stick a fork in Nebraska, and then they play action pass, and their quarterback raised up and hit the tight end, 10 or 15 yards on a little pop pass when Nebraska was sold out to stop the run on 4th and 1 or whatever it was, and it went to the house, I believe. So something like that, fake it
Bub,
to
it's so funny
Rajay or
you thought of
Marlon
that.
and find Shane Calhoun.
It's so funny you thought of that, Bubba. I got to give you credit too, because when Kyle mentioned take a deep shot there, that was the first play I thought. That play call you're describing, that was one of the best play calls I've ever seen. So good recall on that one. I was thinking of the same exact thing. That and I didn't mean to cut you off. You go back in, but I got to give you credit on that one because that was a long time ago, and I'm pretty impressed you remember that one.
It doesn't impress me anymore. Bubba's like he's like the Rain Man of college football memories.
Oh well, yeah, guys. So with do you want to take some calls now?
Oh, we will, and let's address this YouTube comment first, because Chuck, this is something I've discussed with numerous Pirate fans since Thursday night, and that is Javius Bond unfortunately went down on kickoff coverage there on the initial play of the game, and this has nothing to do with Javius' ability to perform well in that role, because he's on that for a reason. But at the same time, we asked ourselves, from the outside looking in, why is he on that? Because, having a very good defense and, from everything we see, a very good tackling team, we have such limited playmaking ability on offense. I would think that doing everything we can, sure, put him on kickoff return, but don't have him run down the field and trying to make a tackle on kickoff coverage when he's perhaps your best playmaker, or at least right there, with Chase Sowell and Josiah Hatfield. You're trying to get the ball to Javius Bond in a variety of ways, and now,
do we know any more about his injury?
It's probably not going to be very bad. And fingers crossed that that's the case. Then we still, even if it's not very bad, we could potentially be without him on Saturday against Charlotte.
So I'm sorry, Bubba. Me and Dave were stepping on you when you were saying that. Did you say you heard it's not very bad?
Coach Houston said in the post game that he thinks that it's not very bad, but I have not heard an update. I'll see what I can find out.
Okay, well, maybe he'll address it in the press conference Tuesday. Who knows? He's funny about addressing injuries.
Yeah, well, we've got to look at every single, like we said, we talked about before. I remember when my baseball coach, the late great Mike Perrell, said, "If I can lose with seniors, I can lose with sophomores." There's other talent on the team, and that's my frustration, is hearing people say talent. It's not talent; it's inexperience and player development and coaching philosophy. And that goes back to what I said with Coach Houston, because people in the Ward Sports Medicine building listen to our show. So I'm not anti-Houston. What I'm saying is stop being stubborn.
Well, player development, it comes down to talent. If you have to be developed, then you don't have the talent yet.
You have to, but you got to be able to play at the level. I mean, you can have talent all day long. If you don't develop them, then that's what you have. We don't have name one 5-star that we have on the team.
I agree with you 100%. We're saying the same thing, but that's why when you're graduating so many guys, you got to work the portal better. It's just where we are. It's just where we are in this day and age.
And Matt, that was another thing. 2 things that we have to do is, you look at Dabo Swinney at Clemson. He's been extremely defiant on the transfer portal,
and it's cost him.
And it's costing him. And you look at Duke played NC State last night, and guys, there was I think it was 6 to 8 guys. I thought about you guys because there's 6 or 8 guys that are key players on that great defense of Duke, and guess where they got them from? The transfer portal. So I'm definitely all for the transfer portal, and our expert is Matt Simmons of Matty Ice. Looking ahead, I know the offensive line. There's other places on offense that we need, obviously, quarterback. But you guys with the transfer portal, what are you looking for? Looking ahead,
quarterback, offensive lineman, receivers.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know my philosophy on the portal, and all you really have to do is look back at the last 3 or 4 recruiting classes. And when you really analyze it, the number of players that we brought in from the high school ranks that have not panned out and are no longer with the program is pretty staggering. If you've ever had a chance to go through it.
Brock Spalding is the only scholarship player left, right, on the wide receivers over the last few years. Off the top of my head, guys,
probably is. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's like one.
And
I mean, you look at our receiving core. I'm sorry, Matt. You got Hatfield, who's been here since Jesus was a boy. you got Jalen Johnson, that came here from Georgia. You got Sewell, who came here from Colorado. So Spalding. There's not many. We have had several misses on the offensive side of the ball when recruiting, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's what it goes back to Mike Houston. That's why I'm not. Look, it's going to play out as it plays out as the season goes, but. I go back. Was Mike Houston trying to build for the future, or was he just trying to win and get out of here and get another job? And that's what it's coming across to me. Either that, or he just don't know how to recruit talent at this level, which is very concerning.
Well, I think
to that point, I really think that he struggles to recruit offensive linemen. I really do, and I firmly believe that the vast majority of our linemen should be coming from the portal. Guys that have a year or two of experience, they have some development, bring them in and get them to play. And I think we struggle in that area big time. And I think we're always looking for these guys that are 6'6", 6'7". Let me tell you something. If you're 6'7", 330 pounds, and you're not being recruited by an SEC school or an ACC school, it's probably a reason for it. Maybe you can't move your feet. Maybe you're just not very physical. But right now, what I see when I look at our O-line, I think we have a strength problem on our O-line. I don't think we're very strong. SMU was consistently able to just bull rush our guys. I mean, just manhandle people up front. So we have a strength problem. We do have a talent problem on the O-line.
We just don't have the depth, right, Matt?
What's that?
I would add depth. Our starters aren't that great.
Yeah, I think we have big problems. I'm telling you, for me, I'm bringing in 5 guys from the portal on the O-line, a minimum of 5.
Well, it's even more concerning to me. More concerning to me, Matt. We've never got tremendous wide receivers. That's why I loved what Ruffin did, because with Ruffin and Riley's offense, you don't have to have good offensive linemen. But the bigger concern to me is the misses on receiver. There is no reason why we shouldn't be loaded at receiver. That is one thing you can always get in North Carolina, in state even, without even having to cross state lines, is receiver talent. And, between North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and Georgia, there is no excuse not to have good receivers. And the O-line thing, there's been times where we haven't had good O-line. That's been a problem in East Carolina. This ain't the first
for a long time.
Yeah, it's happened. But you're right, it needs to be fixed. But the bigger concern to me is, why don't we have more talent? And Bubba, I've talked to you about this in the past, that I said before that I didn't think we were bringing in enough receivers or playing enough receivers. That's another big thing that I don't think we've done well. People want to talk about not developing quarterbacks. I don't think we've done a good job developing receivers worth a damn. I don't understand that. Because Donnie Kirkpatrick, when he was under Lincoln Riley, he knows how many receivers we played, which was about 150 every game, and they all played well. I do not understand why we don't have more depth at receiver, and why the receivers we have brought in have not been able to be developed. I just do not get that.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up as far as how we choose to go about playing our receivers, and essentially the same 3 guys out there for the majority of the snaps, much like it was a year ago. And obviously then you had some pretty talented guys out there that were proven, like Isaiah Winstead, CJ Johnson. But I sent Matt these numbers earlier. These came from hoistthecolors.net, and he had Stephen Igo, that is, had pulled these from Pro Football Focus, the snap count. And in just a moment, I can tell you those numbers specifically, but it's pretty interesting. Okay, so Chase Sowell against SMU played 73 out of the 79 offensive snaps. Josiah Hatfield, 72. Jalen Johnson, 70. And then you had Jari Patterson, 8. Keelan Robinson, 5. Ryan King, 3. Brock Spalding, 2. And Jarrett Garner, 1.
That's a problem. That's a problem, particularly when the 3 guys you mentioned was outside of Sowell are not making plays consistently. Look, Jalen Johnson would be sitting on the bench if it were me. I'd make him sit his ass down an entire game and decide if he wants to try to make plays for us or not, because he has the ability. He's a talented kid, but he has disappointed me severely this year.
Yeah, we've had so many. I mean, that's another thing is look how many drops we've had, and if you go back and I don't know about that to say as strong as outcome of the game, but you definitely when you have drops and it's third down and you stall out and you have to punt. Luke Larson has been a lot better this year. I gave him a hard time last year and early in the preseason, but we need to not rely
practice
on
makes
the punter.
Perfect, Dave. He's getting a lot of practice.
Oh yeah, more than I want him to.
No, the receiving thing to me, man, is just and we're still doing the same thing. We're not playing enough. We're still not developing our receivers that are behind the guys starting, which aren't exactly lighting it up. I love Sowell. He's a sophomore. He's got or is he a redshirt freshman? He's one or the other. He's very young, Colorado transfer. He's got a lot of upside. He's
like
not
him
perfect.
a lot.
He's not perfect. He makes mistakes, but he makes a lot of plays too. Besides him, I mean, it's just head scratching to me that when you got problems at quarterback and O line, I guess that also can make the receivers look bad. But man, when you can't be dropping balls when you get a ball thrown your way, you got to catch it. We can't afford drop passes.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand, guys. Is that those guys are not they're not as bad, but when you have a situation where you're in a game, you got to produce. It's like a job. So, with that said, Bubba, there's a comment. There's some comments. JR had a great comment about the game, and certainly with Sowell.
Yeah, Chase Sowell, 7 receptions for 120 yards. Had that nice catch and run that I believe set up our field goal, either our field goal or our touchdown there in the second quarter. But 12 targets for Chase. Shane Calhoun got a little more involved. Not a huge night as far as yardage, but 5 receptions on 7 targets for 43 yards. So that was nice to see. But other than that, you had Marlon Gunn 1 reception, Jalen Johnson 2 for 7, Josiah 1 for 5, and
that's the guy that I said that I've said for 2 years. That has a lot of talent. He's got a lot of speed, and I just don't understand what's going on with him because I know injuries played a part in his career, but he was one that was an X factor for me for last year and this year. And
you've always been bigger on Hatfield than me, but
point being, the receivers outside of Chase Sowell had 3 receptions for 12 yards.
That is horrible.
Wow.
That is mind-bogglingly bad. There's no excuse for that. That is more than, dude. That is more than concerning. That's what I'm telling you. There is a problem.
A big
huge problem. I'm telling you right now. There is.
That's why I don't feel comfortable about beating anyone.
Exactly, and there is some serious issues that need to be addressed. Something I was just thinking, Bubba. You tell me if I'm right. You'll know this better than anybody else because you keep up with this kind of stuff. Outside of Gardner-Webb, have we only scored 2 touchdowns in the second half all year? One against Marshall and one against Rice on offense. I know we scored a defensive touchdown against App.
That's actually probably a better question for Johnny Robertson.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
It hasn't been much.
I'm pretty sure I'm right. Outside of Gardner-Webb, I think we scored a touchdown against. I know we scored a touchdown against Rice in the second half. We scored a touchdown against Marshall in the second half.
We scored one against App in the second half.
On defense, did we score one? We didn't score one on offense.
I take that back. You're right. No, we did not score one against App on offense.
It was defense. Yeah,
poor recall on my part there. Yeah, it was late in the first half. But we've thrown 2 touchdown passes in 6 games, and one for each quarterback.
Oh God!
And we've not had We've not had a running back rush for more than 72 yards in a game, and then we also the next most was 65. Both
No.
of those were by Javius Bond.
No, the entire look. Our fan base deserves an apology from this coaching staff. I'm gonna be quite honest with you, and I know we ain't gonna get it, but this is pathetic, unacceptable. Our numbers on offense is like it's historically bad.
11.4 points per game against FBS competition.
What is that? What is that average out? I mean, what is that, Bubba? What does that rank all time?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure he didn't have that in front of him, but
no, I
know the '93 team, which went down to a third team true freshman quarterback. That Matt was the true freshman on that team, and he's well aware with that situation.
When Crandall went down,
where Perez Madison had to play as a true freshman. I think that year we averaged just shy of 16 points per game, and that was obviously taking into consideration the numbers that we had put up before Marcus Crandall went down with that injury, which were, I think, like 22 points against Syracuse and then 41 points against UCF, which was
FCS.
an FCS team at that time.
Yeah,
you guys. I mean, think about it like this: if you're a defensive coordinator playing East Carolina right now, and SMU did this perfectly, their game plan was perfect. You put 8 in the box. All right, we are not going to get beat by the run. All right, we're going to just man you up on the outside because there's zero threat of a deep ball. How many deep balls have we thrown all year? Maybe 2? Literally 2. So there's no threat of a deep ball whatsoever. There's no threat of a second level throw. So essentially, you just load the box, all right? You man up on the outside, and you take away the running game. And you don't let Mason beat you with the read option, all right? He might get one on you occasionally, like on a scramble play or busted play type of thing. But SMU did a brilliant job, the defensive coordinator, and that's what they did. That's all you right now to beat East Carolina. That's all you have to do. And the fact that we haven't thrown more deep balls is criminal. And here's the thing about throwing the deep ball, guys. Like sometimes you throw the deep ball, all right, even if you don't complete it, it's incredibly effective. Because what it does is it loosens up the defense. It gives the secondary, if you're playing safety, it gives you something to think about, right? Yep. What I always like to do, and I'm telling you, as a guy who played defense, when a coach would come out on the first possession of the game and run like a play action deep shot, even if they didn't complete it, it gave you something to think about. In the back of your head, you're thinking, man, this deep shot could come at any time. We don't even put that on film. Like literally, we don't put that on film. So what we do is we just limit ourselves in every way possible. It's so easy to play defense against us right now. And this is what you have. You have a team that's just completely inept and can't score touchdowns.
And I understand that, especially when you're playing against someone like SMU that's very good up front and does get a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and you're doing things to make pass protection what it needs to be to give you a fighting chance. But sprint him out, roll him out, half rolled to the top of the numbers, and like we discussed, Matt, and let him sling it down the field to Josiah Hatfield, because at this point, people were able to play so close to the line. Hey, maybe Josiah gets behind someone and runs underneath one. If nothing else, like you're saying, you put the thought there that that's a possibility that you could do it with a guy like Josiah Hatfield that runs a legit 4.3.
Yeah, you really put the fear into a free safety, right? Like if you're a free safety who loves to come downhill against the run, give him a play action deep shot early in the game. Give him something to think about. He'll think twice about coming downhill next time. I'm telling you, it's mind-boggling to me. Now, part of the issue is that we can't even take a 3-step drop without getting pressure in the face of the quarterback. That's definitely part of the issue.
Right. So half roll him, sprint him out to the numbers and let him sling it.
That's right.
Exactly. Even if it's nothing but a friggin' Hail Mary, just roll him out and have him go deep. I mean, I and another thing you guys hadn't mentioned, but it's pretty obvious. Even if you don't complete it, and like you said, sometimes it's the thought of it, but a lot of times you can get a PI on those.
Mm-hmm.
That's right, Kyle. You get that PI constantly. That's a great point.
Yes,
you see it all the time. Hey, you know what? We did throw a little fade to Sowell. I want to say it was in the third quarter, and we did get a PI.
Exactly.
So that
Remember how
highlight
much
right
Mike Houston
there.
and James Madison did that to us back in 2017.
Constantly did it against
We
us.
only had about 10 pass interference calls in that game.
Exactly.
You're right.
I just don't get it. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of it's a combination of coaching and talent. But you've got to be creative. You know, if use Mason's strengths, and I know, Matt, you got some video we're going to break out and you know, break down some plays where you think, you know, it kind of isolates some of what Mason can do well.
Yeah, I think one thing that I really observed coming out of that game, Kyle, is that when you watch Mason, he's first of all, he's very comfortable rolling to his right. And maybe very comfortable is not the right word, but when you have a quarterback that's struggling in so many areas right now, you got to look at what he's doing well or where he can thrive.
Yep.
He showed some ability rolling to his right, making plays. So I think, you know, right now that's where he feels the most comfortable. So that's really where you have to try to set up your passing game around that.
He also looks comfortable running the speed option.
He does. And we incorporated that into the offense. We ran it twice, and I really, really like that. That's one of the plays we're going to highlight in a minute. But if you watch Mason, he's not comfortable in the pocket, and he's not comfortable scanning and throwing to the left side of the field. Where he's comfortable is rolling to his right. So I'm going to put in plays where it's play action, whether it's a half roll, whether I have to bring in a tight end to chip on the defensive end and wash everything down, and then I can roll him to the right to get him to a place where at least he's comfortable. And you could see that pretty clearly, you know. And then the other thing with him, if you get him in situations where, you know, he's able to break free and he's running, you got a 250-pound grown man in the open field, and he's a beast to take down. That's another area where he thrives. I mean, he's a damn handful, you know, once he gets ahead of steam.
Like going back to David Garrard, remember he was running. I mean, he's like a linebacker to try to bring down.
I heard, you know, I go back to that state game and the announcers when Flynn was starting in that game, and they talked about the announcers said that, you know, Mason had, you know, mentioned him having 130 yards rushing against Marshall, and Donnie Kirkpatrick apparently had said, I guess they were talking to the announcers interviewing him at something. They said that Kirkpatrick said that he doesn't want his quarterback to have over 100 yards rushing. So, you know, that's why Flynn got the start. And, you know, whatever his strength is, if it's running, utilize his strength like you're talking about, Matt. You know, if it is ideally, yeah, you want your quarterback to be passing the ball, but if his legs is what's going to win us ball games, whatever it takes to win at this point. And, you know, have we seen the last of Flynn? Probably not. Will we see Jeter? I do think we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if we see Jeter some this week, honestly.
Burn that red shirt, man. If he can play, get him on the field.
Yeah.
I am in this era. I think I don't remember who said it earlier.
It was me.
In this era of college, in this era of college football, the way players hit the portal, NIL, this and that, I'm playing guys.
Yep.
There's very few situations where I'm going to redshirt a player. You know, even if I have to get him on special teams, I don't worry about any of that stuff anymore like I used to even 5 years ago.
No, yeah, I don't think you can. Because chances are, if he's good, unless he just loves it here and we get him a good NIL deal, he won't be here 4 years anyway.
And that's another point. That's another point. Our fan base, and you guys don't like me talking about, but our fan base needs to wake up. And we're not going to play some players will continue to love to lose. Continue to love to lose. If you love to lose,
well, when have you heard people say that? I haven't heard people say that.
Oh, they do. They do. There's a lot of people that do that. They don't understand.
Well, I mean, how are they financially? I mean, if you're well off and you have no problem donating to the Pirate Club,
look, man, you can look.
Yeah,
with
you get
NIL,
$10 a month. I agree with
month.
you. I agree with you 100%. I give $10 a month.
Nobody's saying that you have to get a personal loan or give a big amount you can't afford. But if everybody gave, like Clemson, if everybody gave $10 to the Pirate Club, or $10 a month to the Pirate Club, and $10 a month to NIL, that's $20 a month. Are you really telling me? I'm not saying that we have a whole bunch of rich donors out there, but we have a lot of people that care, and we have a lot of people passionate about our fan and our fan base.
I agree. We definitely need to make Team Boneyard lucrative enough so when the staff goes to the portal, there's some money there to be spent. But I will say this. You look at Appalachian State, you look at Marshall, you look at Coastal. You cannot tell me that they've got more money to spend in NIL than we do, and they're working the portal. If they do, then we need to figure out what they're doing and what we're not doing. And, I go back to our leadership. We talk NIL, but who's out there beating? Who's out there pounding their chest, beating the podium? Do you see Gilbert out there, talking NIL? Ryan, where is it at? Maybe on an individual basis, but where is it at coming from the university on a large scale? Getting people fired up. It's just it ain't there. It ain't there. Gilbert does some things well. I do think he makes good hires. If you look at, he hired Mike Schwartz, our volleyball coach. He hired him. He hired McNeil, who's done a good job with women's basketball. Coach. He hired the softball coach. So he does make good hires. So I'm not saying Gilbert's horrible at everything, but he sure does suck at getting the fan base fired up and motivated.
Well, that's the thing, guys, is that it doesn't matter how I feel or anybody else feels. That's the way college football and college sports are heading. So if you want East Carolina to be a competitor, ask Mike Houston. If he had a choice, I'll tell you this right now, and Kyle, you know where I'm going. If you have a choice of NIL or indoor practice facility, he's going to tell you that as much as he wants the indoor practice facility, he wants it bad. He said, and privately and publicly now,
NIL
is more important.
I said that first. I said that.
I know you did. I know you did.
Y'all disagreed with me at the time, and it's just real simple. If I'm a high school football player or a college football player in the portal, you gonna give me $20,000, or you got an indoor practice facility? Oh, you got an indoor practice facility? I don't need that $20,000. Come on, man. Yes, of course, NIL is more important. We should have had an indoor practice facility years ago. We still need one. Yep. But NIL, it's hugely important, and it goes back to working the portal. You need to have good IN to be able to have. Well, it goes hand in hand. You need to have some NIL money to work that portal better.
Right. And guys,
and here's where it gets really complicated. Like not only bringing in new players, but let's just to kind of again focus on the defense for a second. Defense did some great things, and I think the corner Ravel. I am very, very impressed with him. This kid is 6'4". He was targeted 10 times the other night. He gave up 2 receptions. Now
they kept going. They told the announcers talked about it. You remember that, Matt? They kept going, and they mentioned that about
and one of them was a Sports Center top 10 type. I don't know, not literally necessarily, but it was a highlight reel catch.
Yeah, so this kid can play, but to my point about where it gets complicated, not only are you trying to bring guys into the program,
trying to keep guys
after the season. I'm going to tell you guys right now, that kid, he is going to get big time offers.
Is that the kid? Is that the Miami kid?
No.
Okay, I'm horrible with names.
Ravel came from I want to say like a junior college.
Okay,
that's another thing that Kyle's mentioned. I agree with you.
He is 6'3", 6'4". He can run. I'm telling you, man, we're going to have our hands full. I hate to say it, and you guys know how I feel about this modern day portal and NIL crap, but good luck hanging on to that kid. We're going to have to show him some money. And that is where, in this day and age, it gets really complicated for East Carolina.
No doubt about it.
I don't want to go down that road too much.
No, look, let me say this to answer your question, Kyle. I know that Hank Hinton from Team Boneyard said back a few months ago, Bubba, you can help me out, but that he was saying that what we were told, like the size school being in the AAC, being East Carolina, we would need to generate at least $1 million a year. So I said, I'm a Matt Semenza. I said, okay, if they're saying $1 million, let's generate $3 million. And there is enough donors out there that I appreciate them for giving to the Pirates Unite campaign. They give a lot of money to the Pirate Club, not complaining about that. But we've got to make sure those big donors have got to give to NIL, to Team Boneyard. And if they do, then you're going to start seeing we won't be able to keep every player, but I guarantee you guys there's a lot of players that we can keep if we put an emphasis on NIL.
We need to put an emphasis on NIL. We got to grow the Pirate Club and grow Team Boneyard. We got to get new members. We got to get people coming in. But this product on the football field ain't going to do that. We got to have a good product. It's kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. And here's the whole thing. You didn't hear Mike Houston. Mike Houston ain't said publicly that I've heard him go, "Hey, look, the reason we suck on offense is because I didn't have the money in NIL to get players out of the portal." Well, if that's the case, say it, Mike. I mean, as far as I knew, he seemed to think we were going to be great. He still acts like he thinks we're going to be great, and I get that. You don't want to say, hey, we suck, but I don't know that the portal and NIL is the reason we're bad on offense right now. That's my point.
Let me ask you guys, because we'll talk about the Charlotte game here with Matt's favorite team, and I'm sorry to bring that up, Matt. I know you're torn. That I say that for people that don't know, that's an inside joke. Matt can't stand. First of all, we couldn't stand Charlotte because they were picked because of a market, and they've gotten like a rich kid. They've gotten everything for little effort or none, and now they've got an obnoxious coach. Having said that, guys, with this week, if you see a nice win against Charlotte, does that make you feel a little bit better? I know it's not changing your mind as far as the season goes, but what is it going to take for you to start seeing, all right, that's a baby step in the right direction?
I'll tell you, it's gonna take me a while to get over what happened at the 6-minute mark in the fourth quarter on Friday night. But yeah, I guess it makes you feel a little better. I mean, but for me, that's a game you coming into the season, like that's a game you absolutely have to win. And absolutely. Now it's at the point, but it is at the point
as a must win.
Yeah, I hope we can just find a way to win this by 1 and get out of here, which is like mind-boggling to say that we're at that point, but that's where we're at. And so I guess it make me feel a little better, but like I won't go crazy about it.
What he was asking is what would it take to make you feel better against Charlotte, not just beating them. I'll be happy with a win, but in terms of the offense, what would make me feel optimistic going forward?
Like 30, 40
to
points.
Score 24 offensive points, I'd feel optimistic going forward because Charlotte's defense is pretty good. So if we were to go put 24 offensive points on them, and then be able to build off that, like if we won 24-7. And absolutely. I'm not saying that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen, a matter of fact. But if we were to win 24-7, I would feel optimistic, cautiously optimistic. Because honestly, with our defense, if we could score 24 points a game, we would
win every game.
We would be 3-3 right now. If we could just score 24 points a game offensively, we would be 3-3 right now. Matt, have you thought about that? We don't even have to be that good on offense. If we could just score 24 points a game, we'd be 3-3 right now.
Yeah, if you're just competent, we are. So yeah, no, I think there's no doubt about it. I mean, we are historically bad offensively, and that's a tough pill to swallow.
And that's the difference between the Skip Holtz era and what's happening now. Is we weren't lighting it up during the Skip Holtz days, but even when we were down to Norman Whitley and Brandon Simmons as our running backs, and that's not an insult to either one of those guys. I love Brandon Simmons as a person, and he was a good running back. But when we got down to our third and fourth string running back, we could still score points. So it was, people. So when we compare eras, that's the most similar style of football. But we were never this inept on offense. You cannot win football games and be this inept on offense. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. That's what I'm saying. If we could just get to averaging 24 points a game, we would be okay.
Oh, there's no question about it. And the thing that goes into that is, and we touched on it before, but when you're moving the ball offensively, keeps your defense off the field. It keeps them fresh for the fourth quarter, which is right now. That's kind of like our sticking.
Well, we did dominate time of possession against SMU for 3 quarters anyway.
That is a very good point. But the other part of that too is just like mentally as a defense, when your offense just can't score, it gets deflating at some point. But if your offense can just give you some life, man, every now and then give you something.
The defense
permeates throughout your team.
The defense kind of did what I did after that 4th and 2 play where we didn't go for it, down 14. I left. Well, I said if they're waving the white flag, I'm going home. And
don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
I think that's what the defense did. I think they said, well, if they're giving up, why should we keep busting our ass? And so I don't know, man, but. The bottom line is we've got to find a way to beat Charlotte. If we lose to Charlotte, it's going to get very ugly around Greenville. I mean, Mike Houston's not used to having pressure. He's won everywhere he's been. Well, we lose to Charlotte, people are going to be calling for his job. It's going to go from fire Donnie to fire Mike. If we lose to Houston, if we lose to Charlotte, I don't know why I've done that twice now. I did it on Pirate Radio. I referred to Charlotte as Houston for some reason, but if we lose to Charlotte, the fire Donnie signs will become fire Mike signs.
So, guys, Elliot Jameson, probably about half an hour ago, had mentioned first and second down calls. I don't have any data on the second down calls, but I know against Rice, we threw the ball approximately 65% of the time on first down. And then against SMU, in this game plan, as ugly as it was, made sense because even though we weren't having a lot of success there, we had heard about how good SMU was in the front. It's been well documented how we struggle to protect the passer, and we did some things to aid in that. But the other night against SMU in the first half, I don't have the second half numbers, but in the first half we had 15 first down plays. 13 of those 15 were runs, so 87% of the time we ran the ball on first down in the first half. And then at one point, I want to say we ran the ball 12 consecutive times, and of those 13 runs overall in the first half on first down, 10 were for 2 yards or less. So not a lot of success. And I know that's no surprise to anyone that was watching the game, but sadly enough, with our struggles to protect the passer, it did allow us to largely control the football in the first half, even though most of the time it was 3 and outs or maybe 4 or 5 plays and not a ton of production there outside of 2 drives. And I think it was like 20-10 as far as time of possession in the first half.
Yeah, I think his thought was, maybe we eventually ball control, keep their offense off the field, and then maybe we wear them down by the fourth quarter. But it didn't happen.
14-10 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah, wear them down, break a big play. I say, and I said it before, when you're going to have that game plan, that's fine, but you got to check their oil every now and then. You got to take a deep shot if you're going to have that game plan to make it work, and we didn't do that.
Yeah, and one of the big problems we have offensively is that we consistently start behind the chains. And
penalties.
Guys, there were 4 false starts on first down the other night. Yeah. 4. Now that's a disaster. And you got to call out everybody for that. You got to call out the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the offensive line coach, and you got to call out the offensive lineman too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to tell you, man, I played football my whole life. I don't think I ever had a false start. It's not that hard. You got to pay attention. This happens every week. 4 false starts on first down. Come on. That's got to be cleaned up. This is big boy football. This isn't Pop Warner. And, and then, if it's not that, it's a holding. It's, a predictable run up the middle where you lose 3 yards and now you're in 2nd and 13. I mean, it just seems like, and I don't have the stat on this, and maybe like Johnny might know. Johnny Robertson is really good with this stuff. I'm curious to know how many times we were in second. We had second and negative yards the other night. It had to be 6 or 7 times.
Too often. I don't know how many times it was, but it was far too
You mean
often.
where we had in second and over 10?
Yes.
Correct.
All right, I'll see if I can find that.
I'm going to guess 6 or 7 times off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's not good. It's definitely not good, guys. I'll tell you, you're right about that. The penalties, Matt, you saw, I was doing a math the other night. I was like literally just shaking my head with the false starts because that's something those guys, and now those guys have actually played together enough that it's not like it's the first game of the year. But
Right.
definitely, and you're right though. You got to do everything you can for our inexperienced quarterback to help out the quarterback, and you're moving, knowing. I mean, that's just those are senseless penalties. Just like a late hit for me on defense just drives me nuts.
Yep.
Well, yeah. No, we got to correct those mistakes, and those are correctable mistakes. I mean, those are things you can fix. That's
Right.
not talent. That's not well, it is execution, and that's why it's correctable. Those are correctable mistakes, and they need to be corrected. That should have been corrected weeks ago. That going against Charlotte, to me, this Charlotte game is going to come down to who turns the ball over and who gets the most penalties. So we got to play smart football and not turn the ball over against Charlotte. I think that's going to determine who wins this football game. So I don't think this is going to be the game that you're going to see us come out and be wide open, because Houston knows that probably whoever doesn't turn the ball over and whoever doesn't get the most penalties is going to win this game.
And speaking of turnovers, SMU, as good as they had been defensively, they had only forced 2 turnovers all season, and then we turned it over twice there in the final quarter, and that obviously decided the game. It went from 14-10 to 31-10 in a hurry.
Yeah, that pick six was a backbreaker.
And then you think about back to the strip. I don't think we've talked about that play yet. Where Alex Flynn had an excellent run, picked up 10 plus and what would have been a first down, I think 12 or 13-yard gain. And just the SMU defender flat out took it away from him. And, rather than immediately getting to the line of scrimmage and snapping the football, preventing a review like SMU had, like what they had done early in the game on the completion on their sideline. We took our sweet time, and that brought up a good question, because Alex Flynn, he had to wait on a receiver to get lined up, or at least thought he had to wait on the receiver, which raised a question in my mind. If you go ahead and snap the football, I'll gladly take 1st and 15 in that situation, as opposed to not retaining possession.
Did you clarify that?
Yeah, I asked somebody, that's a Division One coach, and he said that he believes that that would have negated the review, but wasn't 100%.
Okay,
hey guys,
so we could have snapped, he took the penalty, and then they wouldn't have ever reviewed the play. So,
correct, based on what he was thinking.
Yeah, and I don't put that 100% on Flynn, because if you didn't know it, he didn't know it. But the receivers got to get his ass lined up. You got to be situationally aware, and you got to be yelling whatever your call is there, whatever you call that, whatever you call your hurry to the line, whatever Bubba, you played quarterback,
right?
What would you be yelling in that situation?
I know Jason Nichols, who obviously years of experience at the FBS and SCS levels, and he said, the staffs he had been on, they would have it a Geronimo call, but regardless, you have something like that. So
you're yelling Geronimo. Everybody knows you just get lined up. It doesn't matter what we're snapping.
Yeah, whatever your call is, you're immediately screaming that, as a quarterback and as a coach on the sideline, and all you have to do is, it doesn't matter, as long as you
snap it and throw it away.
Get set on the football.
Yeah,
you go to your base run play, or quarterback sneak, or whatever, and the football's been snapped, review negated, and you move on.
Exactly.
But
guys, let's say hypothetically, I don't know if you guys have talked about this. Forgive me, but have you talked about if Donnie gets fired, what people? Because I saw that Kenneth Maynard mentioned Petrino might be available after Jimbo gets fired at A&M.
Donnie's going to be gone at the end of this year. There's no if. Whether it's retirement or fire, Donnie's gone. So who do you hire as OC? Look, there's a reason that Shane Montgomery is on staff as offensive analyst. He's been a successful OC and a head coach. He wouldn't be my pick, but I think he'll probably get strong consideration. but I'd like to see us go out and hire somebody else. That I need to watch more what Shane Montgomery has done on offense. What kind of plays he ran when he was at James Madison, Youngstown State, Buffalo, Miami of Ohio. There's a reason. To my knowledge, he's never been an OC at a Power 5 conference school. So I don't know. I personally hope we go outside the program and really kind of overhaul this offense as a whole. But the question will be, I guess it'll kind of be, what kind of progress we show on offense. If we're a 2-10 football team and Houston doesn't get the axe, I don't think promoting Shane Montgomery is going to make anybody happy. But so you're asking, who would I like to see us? Who would we like to see us brought in as OC? There's several good options out there. Petrino. I don't see him and Mike Houston being a good combination. I don't see that working.
You would hear about there was a huge fight in the Ward Sports Medicine building on the.
What I would like to see Mike Houston do is hire somebody who is a creative offensive mind and turn the keys over to him on the offense and let him run when he wants to run, and Houston just concentrate on the defense and running the football program.
Yeah, absolutely. One guy, I'll tell you, my limit would be I would never bring in a Petrino. Like, he's the one guy I wouldn't hire him if I was coaching a high school, if I was the athletic director for a high school team.
He's going to leave us after a short period of time.
Low character. He's that guy's scum, honestly. He left his team. Didn't he leave his team at halftime?
Do you remember that?
I don't want to digress.
Falcons?
Yeah, the Falcons. Didn't he leave at halftime? He wrote like a note.
He's never. Look, a lot of people want to talk about what happened in Arkansas. I've seen that secretary. I don't have a problem with that.
Oh, that's great, Kyle.
I'm just being honest. But the other things that he's done, no, Petrino, no, thank you. I'd rather, honestly, and some people, this is going to be a controversial statement, but nobody wants to touch Art Briles with a 10-foot pole. And, I don't know how much culpability Art had in what went on at Baylor. It's been debated. But if you don't give a damn about controversy, nobody else is going to hire him. We'd have Art Briles for forever if you want to make him OC.
Yeah, I mean, to me personally, like I said, we got to do everything, and people will get mad at me for saying this, but we got to do everything to win. The fan base.
I'll tell you somebody, Bubba, talk about what
it's not going to happen, but it is fun to think about. Talk about a home run with Art Briles. Art Briles, he was down to his third or fourth team quarterback. He had like 8 or 9, something ridiculous. People line up behind center and catch a snap, and using a wildcat approach like that, ran for over 500 or maybe even 600 yards against North Carolina down in Florida in the bowl game.
I remember that well.
And what about? I was going to ask you that was
Matt, classic.
We're not to this point yet, but if we get to this point, Allah lose to Charlotte, Kendall Briles, his son, the OC at Arkansas, is somebody that I would put on my short list for head coaching candidates if we lose to Charlotte, because those talks will start. Bubba, speaking of that, offensive minds, you have been really high on the Western Carolina head coach. Talk about him.
Kerwin Bell played quarterback at the University of Florida, won a national championship as the head coach at Valdosta State. Right now is doing an excellent job at Western Carolina. Over the last 3 games, they're averaging just shy of 59 and 59 and a fraction per game.
59 points per game, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, essentially 60 points per game for the season. They are 5-1. Arkansas did limit them to 13 points, but outside of that, or I should say, even with that, 13 points against Arkansas through 6 games, they're averaging 47 points per game.
Does anybody think we could score
Western
13
Carolina's
points
FBS program that has not had a lot of success? He's not doing that at
James Madison.
Yeah, at a Furman or James
Madison.
Well, obviously James Madison's moved up, but
yeah, I'm using that as an example for Mike Houston.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Western Carolina is historically bad, and they're lighting it up this year. Will be a playoff team most likely. And does anybody think we could score 13 points against Arkansas with FBS talent?
Very true. We've topped out at 17 thus far.
And that was against Rice.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Offensively, yeah. We put up more than that against App, but there was those 2 defensive
14
touchdowns.
offensive points.
Yep. So, it's a nightmare. So it's a shame that we're sitting here have to discuss head coaches and even OCs. I think Donnie. I fully believe, Bubba, you and I talked about this. I fully believe Donnie was planning on retiring at the end of this year. I think that the reason Shane Montgomery was brought in, but
and for full disclosure, Kenneth, as far as Kerwin Bell is concerned, obviously he's the head coach there, and with that being the case, absolutely would not leave that to be our OC.
No, I was thinking more.
He made such a move leaving Valdosta State, where he won national championships at the D2 level, to take an OC spot on Charlie Strong's staff at South Florida, and that was a nightmare because, from everything I understand, from Florida sources, he was not given full reins, and I didn't misspeak there. From Florida sources that he's close with from his days as a Gator, and he said that he was not given the leeway that was necessary, and he was only there 1 year. So then he left there, went to Dan Mullen's staff as an analyst, and then was hired at Western Carolina.
Yeah, and so it may become a point where we're talking about, if we lose to Charlotte, we're talking about head coaching candidates. But right now, it is OC candidates. And
so let me ask you, I love how people say that head coaching candidates when we can't afford to fire the guy. And so
if we're 1-11, you can't afford not to fire him.
Okay, so there's a guy named Jeff Comfort. We paid him for 5 years doing absolutely
and I wouldn't have paid him a dime.
Agreed, but I'm just saying you're going to pay. So we have the money. Everybody says we don't have any money. We have the money to pay for a head coach that we're going to fire. We're going to have
I'm saying if we go 1-11, Dave.
And I think you got to give him to 24 and make coaching changes.
If we go 1-11, we have the same man standing on the sideline without a single Power 5 team on the schedule next year. We will not sell 10,000 season tickets.
Well, then we're going to have to find a way to raise the money. The donors, you got to come up with.
No, what we're going to have to do is not go 1-11. How about that? How about we don't go 1-11? How about we beat Charlotte and we win some other games and we replace the OC and some other coaches? But if we go 1-11 and we have the worst offense in ECU history, and this is all his players. Okay, all Montgomery's players are gone. This is all 100% on Mike Houston, and I firmly believe it's because he didn't work on building and developing this program for year 5 because he thought his ass was going to be gone last year because he thought he was going to win 9 or 10 games. But because of a missed field goal against NC State and an interception against Navy, he's still here. And he didn't prepare himself to be here for this year. And I think if he goes 1-11, you reap what you sow. So, I hope that doesn't happen. Look, if we lose to Charlotte this week, I am going to be distraught. So I don't want to fire Mike Houston. I want to beat Charlotte, move on, find a way to win a couple more games, finish 4. To me, at this point, if we finish 4-8, I would feel very optimistic about next year. 3-9, I would accept.
What about 5-7?
Well, 5-7,
we could go to a bowl of 5-7.
Fired up. I'd be fired up at 5-7, honestly. But I don't see it happening.
That means so what you're saying is we won't go 500 the rest of the way, 3-3.
Absolutely, no, we won't.
There's no reason to, based on what we've seen thus far. Why would you think we'd go 3-3 or better?
Exactly. Why would you think? Explain to me why. Dave, explain how we're going to go 3-3. Well, what you've seen to make us go. Talk me into we're going to go 3-3 the rest of the way.
All right, I can do that. All right, so if you look at the schedule left on there, on what we have left, we have Charlotte. I think that's home. I think we got a good shot at that. I look at Navy and Tulsa. Those 3 certainly come to mind, and we have the ability. Will we do it? I don't know, but we have the ability to sneak another win in there. But I think we can go 3-3. I really do.
You just named schools. Tell me why we're going to beat them.
Why we're going to beat them? I think that it's not a matter of I think we've had schools that you said about talent. So let's say Do you think Tulsa has more talent than East Carolina? Do you think
Well,
Navy has more talent?
Tulsa. Check out how many points per game Tulsa's putting up right now, based on what they've done so far. Yeah. Now look, I am not a fan of Tulsa's head coach at all. Do not like him at all. He's not someone I like. But so far, I don't even know what Tulsa's record is top of my head, but I know I've watched them play twice and they've scored some points. So I don't know, Bubba, Matt, I don't know if either one of you know Tulsa's record and what their points per game is, but they've looked good offensively. Outside of the only team that I think we are on the rest of our schedule that I think we are better than is Charlotte. If we improve on offense, if we make adjustments on offense to utilize Garcia's strengths, if the O-line can gel, then maybe we can win some more games. But there's nothing that's been seen so far offensively that makes me think we can go 500 the rest of the way. I hope we can. I hope we do. That'd be great.
That's what I'm looking at. If I look at the schedule, I'm being honest. I know Pay's FAU is looking really good right now. Certainly, the TSA game is next week. That's on the road.
Frank Harris is back.
Yeah, I look at Tulane. Those three games are going to be tough. But if you win the Charlotte game, you can win the Navy game, and you can win. You have a good chance to win the Tulsa game as well. So that's the last home game of the year.
What's Tulsa? Do you have the Tulsa record in points per game, Bubba?
I do. 3 is what Brandon's saying.
They're 3-3. So they beat FCS opponent Arkansas Pine Bluff 42-7 in the opener, and then they had 2 games against what are top 10, I guess now really top 5 opponents. At Washington, lost 43-10. Oklahoma lost 66-17. Then they won at Northern Illinois 22-14. They beat Temple 48-26. And then they lost 20-17 at Florida Atlantic. So, 48 points against Temple. And obviously, we scored 44 against Gardner-Webb, and that was with the aid of 5 turnovers that gave us short fields.
Yeah. No. And so, could we beat Tulsa? Yeah, but we're going to be the underdog in that game. But can we beat them in Greenville on Thanksgiving weekend on Senior Day? Absolutely. But we're going to have to, there's going to be a lot of football between now and that Tulsa game.
Yeah.
And UTSA, look, let me tell y'all something right now. I don't know how many of y'all, and I'm speaking to the collective y'all, all of Pirate Nation, have watched Frank Harris play. I don't know how many people watch UTSA football the last 2 years prior to this year with him being out up until this past week. Frank Harris is a hell of a quarterback. I've watched him play in Conference USA a lot the last couple of years. And now that he's back healthy, they are a completely different football team. So I'm glad for the kid personally, for him that he's back. I hate it for us.
Well, that's why you have to play the games. We got 6 games left, so I'm not willing to write off the season. Just
nobody's going to write it off. Nobody's suggesting that we don't play the games, but it's just besides the defense, there's no reason to be optimistic. I said if we score 24 offensive points against Charlotte, then I'll feel way more optimistic about the offense. So that's my threshold. 24 offensive points, and of course, I'm saying offensive points. 3 of those would be special teams, but the offense gets us in that position to score.
All right, let's go now. I know Matt was talking about earlier in the show whenever we were doing that about the clips you have. And Matt, I know Bubba's got them ready. Let's do those clips and talk about the different plays to help out Mason and the team, especially when they're struggling on offense. So you ready to go, Matt?
I'm ready, fellas. I'm ready.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, I'll kind of let Bubba. Bubba, you can bring them up any order you want, really. I mean,
okay, we'll start off, and we'll just go in chronological order. I want to say, let's see. So here we are, 2.5 minutes left in the first quarter, 2nd and 12.
So this is one of those situations now where you're starting behind, you're starting in 2nd and 12. So negative yardage on first down. But this is a play here. What we're trying to do is look at plays where Mason is comfortable. He looks to his left. He pump fakes it. You have good blocking in front. And when you get him in the open field, 250 pounds, This dude can make plays. This is where he thrives. So
Playmaker.
I did like this little wrinkle here. I liked how he pump faked it. He looked to his left. He pump faked it. That can freeze the linebackers for just a second. That's all it takes. And it was blocked up well. So I did like that. This play. I'd like to see some more of this here. And this was a big play here.
Excellent job. You saw Marlon Gunn leading the way. Terrific job by Mason of reading that block of Marlon Gunn there downfield.
By the way, now that we're looking at this is Matt, I'm sorry, I just had to mention this. I love those uniforms, even though we played bad in them.
Absolutely.
Particularly the pants. The pants anyway, go ahead.
Agreed, buddy. So anyway, that's example number one, guys, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to look at things and look at areas where Mason is comfortable. I think that's one. If you can get him in the open field, spread the field a little bit. Again, 250 pounds. Good luck tackling him one-on-one. So that was the first example.
No doubt.
All right. I guess the next
there we go.
Now here we are again, 3rd and 12, and this is what we talked about earlier. This is where Mason's most comfortable, when he's rolling to his right. So everything gets washed down.
Nice pass in the middle.
Yep, he's able to deliver a nice throw. So that's a really nice job there. He's not standing in the pocket like a statue. He's on his move to the right. He's able to deliver a strike. That's a beautiful play. So that's example number 2. Go for it, Bubba.
Another long yardage situation, 2nd and 14 at our own 30-yard line. And once again, Mason connects with Chase so well. You see, got some pressure from the middle, and Mason rolled to his right and connected with so well. And then what an excellent run after the catch, 47-yard gain. Perhaps our biggest play all year, if not definitely one of the top 2 or 3 plays.
Biggest play all year was Mason's running play against Marshall.
Yes,
yards. 65 yards or whatever it was, maybe.
Yeah. But that's the kind of stuff that we need to. You guys are exactly right. That's the kind of stuff we need to do. And I know, Bubba, you've got those clips, so I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, I think we should have more blocking schemes like this. Like, even if you look at that last play, we washed the defensive end down. Where we struggle is when we try to make him a pocket quarterback, the pocket collapses around him. All right. Even if you have to bring a tight end to that side, bring somebody in motion to wash the defensive end down, push Mason to his right. I think that's where you can thrive a little bit. Notice on all these plays, guys, it's 2nd and 12, 3rd and 14 on every single example so far. All right.
Yep.
All right. So this 4th clip, we are in the red zone, 1st and 10 at the SMU 14-yard line. Little speed option there to Rajay Harris for a nice gain of 7 yards on 1st down.
They respect Mason Garcia because they know he can run. So that's why the speed option will work really well.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's not like he's an immobile quarterback that you're trying to do the option with.
Right. And, a few things I like about this play. Number one, you're not just running up the middle. You're getting out to the perimeter.
Right.
And I really like this play. Like, if you have a healthy Javius Bond, you get his speed one-on-one, and now you're in business. But, this is a nice wrinkle. We haven't seen this before. Love this. I want to incorporate more of this, but I also want to – there's so many plays you could run off of this. Like, you could have a 2-back set where it's almost a triple option look from the pistol.
Right.
There's so much you can do if you establish this. And I thought Mason looked pretty comfortable running it, but – again, if you can get Bond paired up with him in that situation, or Pays makes a point at Hatfield, that's fine.
Yeah.
You need
what about Gunn?
Gunn,
yeah.
A speed guy, but
Stevie,
love that wrinkle.
What's up, Stevie Fly?
Yeah, and on that specific play, a lot of times when you run speed option, as a quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator, what you're telling that guy is just another way to attack the perimeter. So depending on who it is running it, especially when you have a quarterback who is not as mobile as Mason Garcia, you tell him to take 2 or 3 steps and pitch it. But in Mason's case, I'd like to see him, hang on to that a little bit longer, attack the guys, inside, and then force him to really make a decision, because you saw there the guy for SMU nearly had the opportunity to make the tackle on Rajay. Fortunately, Rajay was able to outrun him.
Yeah, and Mason's got to know when to pitch it and when to keep it. Also, there are times that where when you're running that speed option, you need to keep it.
But David Garrard was excellent at this. Obviously he was doing it from under center as opposed to from the shotgun, but same concept. And just right there, the linebacker was screaming to Rajay Harris. A little flash of the football, a little fake, and tuck it, and you see Mason could cut it up for a nice gain as well. So,
Hey, Bubba, can you run that back one more time? There's one more thing I wanted to show that's subtle. If you look, we bring a man in motion, and you watch the free safety comes across the field. So what that did was it created an alley there.
yeah.
If you run it back one more time, if you watch, we bring, I don't know, was that Jalen Johnson maybe in motion? Watch the free safety. He runs
It
with
was, let's see. Yes,
So-
Jalen Johnson on the jet sweep fake. He was the number 3 in trips for our podcast listeners who were not seeing the video. So Pirates ball on the right hash, 3 receivers split to the left, and then faked the jet sweep into the boundary to Jalen Johnson, and then ran speed option to the field, to the wide side of the field, that is, with Mason Garcia and Rajay Harris. And then going to
a lot more of that, guys. A lot more of that.
Fourth and 2 at the SMU 7-yard line, ran quarterback power, and where we pulled the guard, and then you had a nice block there by Shane Calhoun. Mason, running like a bull, getting into the end zone. Much needed touchdown, our only touchdown of the night, obviously. And
we
then
need more of that.
The final play from Thursday night's game. Matt, I'll let you talk about this one as well, but it was the pick six. So here we are, a bunch trip set into the boundary.
He had Marlon Gunn
At the bottom of the screen, and we were throwing the shallow crosser to the lone receiver, split out to the right. Now it was Chase Sowell. Chase was sitting it down against zone coverage, but Alex threw it as though he was going to continue his route the way he would have run it against man coverage. And I heard this is something that was obviously I immediately recognized this as a former quarterback, and I heard Steve Logan on 94.3 The Game discussing it on his show on Friday, just saying that it made him have terrible flashbacks to early in his career when that's the way he utilized the shallow crosser, where it was on the receiver and quarterback to be on the same page. He said after he had that experience with the pick six, like we did, for that very reason, the quarterback seeing one thing, receiver seeing another, and he opted to, hey, no matter what the coverage is, you're just going to continue running that shallow crosser, and it's on the quarterback to recognize, hey, if he's continuing to run and running into a zone where he's going to get lit up, it's your job to not throw him the football and to come off the shallow crosser and throw it elsewhere. So that way you can't have that indecision and the nightmare that we had with the pick six.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, Bubba. Can you run it one more time? I mean, and this is the type of thing where you have two guys that just haven't played together, and Flynn, like you said, he's expecting this route to continue. Sowell breaks it off.
He should have.
It's just he should. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just saying when he. I know we talked about that in the. You're watching the game and he just stopped. He stopped his route right there. I just don't understand. And they knew the ball, and then.
Well, that's the reason he stopped the route. That's what we're saying, that he he recognized zone coverage and he was sitting it down. And
He did the right thing. Flynn made the wrong read.
I see what you mean. Now.
Flynn threw it to. I mean, he was expecting Chase to continue the shallow crosser rather than sitting it down.
Yeah, and these are just type of things you see from a efficient offense that's experienced and coached up. You just don't see those kind of things happen, and that was a killer. I mean, that was
to be fair. Also, and this goes back to the coaching. When you're playing musical quarterbacks, it's hard for anybody to get used to playing together with a receiver and knowing, and it's like Logan said, a simple fix is leave it on the quarterback to figure out if it's zone or man, not the receiver.
And Matt, kind of shifting gears, and with this final clip we had, it's not from the East Carolina SMU game, but rather Colorado State, Boise State, and what a game that was. Maybe we'll discuss that briefly in a moment, but I know this clip, it shows a way in which we can utilize Mason's strengths, and that is, putting him on the move, moving the pocket.
Yeah, no doubt. And I'd like to see just more of these plays where you have a man come in motion here once this starts up, and you're going to see a play action with just kind of like a little half roll to the right where the quarterback's on the move. And you'll see it here. So here comes the play action. It's just a little half roll. And now this play, it didn't work in this case. It wasn't an effective play. It was not a completion, but that type of movement in the backfield where you're getting Mason out of the pocket, you're chipping down on the defensive end. And great then I like to, if you can bring a crossing route with that, I think you can have a lot of success running that play with Mason. Just subtle things where you get him on the move. And Bubba, you're a quarterback. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
No doubt. Big number 80, Shane Calhoun, dragging or climbing there about 10 to 12 yards across the formation.
Yeah, no, you got to roll. You got to roll. Garcia out. For some reason, I wanted to call him Flynn over and over again. You got to roll Garcia out, take advantage of his strength, his legs, shorten the field for him, one side of the field. It's what he's comfortable at. He's not a pocket quarterback. It's plain as the nose on your face. He ain't a pocket quarterback. Quit trying to make him a pocket quarterback, Right. And by the way, being we showed a highlight from that Boise State, Colorado State game, if you have not seen the fourth quarter of that game, go on YouTube and watch the fourth quarter of Boise and Colorado State from yesterday. Colorado State has a 20-point comeback in a span of about 6 minutes. They were down 30-10 and ended up winning it 31-30.
Wow.
I'll have to check that out later, Kyle. I didn't see it yet. Sounds like an unbelievable ending, though.
It was fantastic.
Hey, guys, do you want to talk some as far as games over the college football landscape last night and over the weekend?
Sure. I was in the mountains. What I watched was limited. Colorado and Stanford, double overtime. Colorado blows 29-point lead.
That was crazy.
Great finish. Shador Sanders misses a wide open receiver, Travis Hunter, that would have put the game away, and then he throws a pick in overtime, and Colorado loses. We already talked about the comeback Colorado State had against. Evidently, all the important football's played in Colorado this year. Colorado State with the comeback over Boise State, which was just unbelievable. If you hadn't watched it, really go out of your way to watch the fourth quarter. What else? What stuck out to you guys? Tulane and Memphis was a good one for the majority of the game in the American. Tulane beating Memphis, showing they're still the kings of the American.
Lincoln Riley's team still can't play defense. That sticks out.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say Matt's team, and I don't say that like his team, but the team to watch for. You were talking about Notre Dame, and I'll tell you one thing: the Fighting Irish. I was expecting Notre Dame to win that game, but not the way. I don't know about you guys. I didn't expect it to be like that. But with USC only scoring 20 points, that was it 48-20, something like that. I was watching that game and I was just like, I couldn't believe that. That was a shocker to me. I thought it would be like a high scoring game, a Wild Wild West, the shootout, but only 20 points given for that was crazy.
And in reverse, Louisville upset Notre Dame the week before and then took on a bad Pittsburgh team, and Pittsburgh stomped them. So Louisville could not handle the success of being 6-0.
And how about this? Kenneth was talking about Virginia Tech dominating Wake and Duke shutting down NC State.
Wake's not good. Wake's another team that doesn't work the portal.
Yep. Duke beating NC State 24-3 was very impressive. That defense is wow. I don't know if Duke has ever had a defense like that before. I have to give my props to. I heard a lot of good things with Mike Elko. Speaking of Wake Forest, he comes to Duke, and he is really – Matt Semenza loves the Big Ten. I'm telling you guys, you have Michigan State and Northwestern open right now, and maybe some more schools.
I love it.
I don't – is Northwestern an upgrade from Duke, though? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it makes sense.
Facility-wise, I mean, money-wise, I know it's like both are academics, but he can win.
It depends. I mean, Duke's got the money if they want to pay him. They can match what Northwestern's going to pay him.
Oh, they definitely can. There's no question about that. And you're in the ACC.
How about Pat Fitzgerald?
You're talking about as far as from a facility standpoint, which way?
I was talking about with Northwest. I mean, aren't they getting about $75 million a year? I mean, I don't know.
I'm saying Duke's football facilities are definitely better than Northwestern's.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You think so, Bubba? You think?
Yeah,
you think so?
I don't think it may not even be close.
Duke has worked a lot.
Wallace Wade Stadium is definitely a lot nicer with the renovations they've done than Ryan Field and
Well,
I'll tell you that
in the nice football ops building and indoor facility they built at Duke. I'm not sure about Northwestern's indoor facility.
Well, stuff like that irritates me. And Northwestern's a high academic university, and respect what they do academically. But when football is making you that much money, and then you don't invest in what's making you the money, it really pisses me off.
Vanderbilt Vanderbilt has so much money. There's no reason in the world why Vanderbilt can't win at a high level.
It's not going to stop you from still being one of the greatest medical schools in the world at Vandy, one of the best cancer research institutions in the world, because you put a little money into football.
So in essence,
they need to kick them out. If the SEC were smart, they'd kick them out. Threaten to kick them out, and they'll start spending money.
I'll tell you who should consider Elko. Whenever they do need to hire a new coach, and that's Texas A&M, where he came from.
He was just there. Yeah.
Oh, you know what?
Now Jimbo Fisher, he may or may not. We'll see whether they decide to pay out that contract. I'm not sure. Obviously it's a $95 million contract. I'm not sure what they would owe him if they
choose to
part ways with him.
7?
But
you only have 3 more. I think it's only 3 more years or 4 more years on it, right?
But if I'm Texas A&M, I'm strongly considering.
That's a great idea, Bubba.
Yeah, Elko to A&M makes a lot of sense, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Speaking of that, and this is something we need to research. I don't think anybody's going to know this off the top of their head. We know Mike Houston's base salary is much higher than coaches in the past because I'm assuming Gilbert did that because he thought he was going to get balled out.
Yep, you're right.
Versus somebody versus us having to buy him out. Do any of you know? Always in the past, we had an offset clause in the contract. Do any of you guys know, or any of our listeners know, if the offset contract, if we have an offset clause in Houston's contract?
I don't.
I'm not sure. Now, when you say offset clause, Kyle, just explain to me what you're referring to here.
Like Ruffin McNeil, for example, when he was fired, when he got hired at Virginia, he was making $500,000 a year. That offset the money we owed him. So if we fire Mike Houston and we owe him $4 million, and he goes and gets the head coaching job at an FCS school and makes $800,000 a year, that money would offset. It would take away from what we owe him.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
Okay.
Jimbo Fisher is in year 6, like I thought, year 6 out of 10. So he would have you had 4 years left on that $95 million contract, whatever that is. It was like what, $9.5 million a year?
Yeah, so 4 years left. They can afford it. Texas
35
A&M
million
can
or something
afford
like
it,
that.
and they may have an offset clause in his contract also. But I'm more concerned about our contract.
Yeah, it was originally 75 million, then they upped it to 95 million.
Yeah, they can afford to buy it out.
Unbelievable. The money disparity when you really start to look at it is it's hard to overcome. But really quick, guys, on the Big Ten, this week we have one of the best games of the year coming up. It's Penn State versus Ohio State.
Oh man,
And
yeah.
I think this is the year that Penn State gets it done. That team is loaded. I'm
They are
telling you.
very good.
I'm all over Penn State, guys. Watch out for them.
Hey, you got another great. Speaking of ACC, here's another great one. Duke is going to Tallahassee. FSU and Duke. That's going to be a much better. I think FSU still wins it, but that's going to be a better game than what some people think.
Yeah.
All right, so I very quickly found out what Jimbo's owed. So if he's fired in or after 2023, 76.8 million.
Oh well, they're going to keep him then. Okay.
Good Lord.
If he's fired after 2024, 67.5.
Oh well.
55.
No, Elko is not going to.
Don't be so sure about that.
If he lasts all the way through 2027, even in 2027, if they chose to fire him, it'd be 39.2.
Oh my God!
Why you would do that to your program?
Fisher? Who is Jimbo Fisher's agent? I want his agent.
I would fire him. I'll tell you what I would do if I was Texas A&M. I'd fire my AD tomorrow.
Oh my God! I didn't know that. Wow,
that's what I would do. Bubba, you found that out fast. Did you find out if there's an offset in Houston's contract?
I have not.
Oh well, we need to find that out because that's very important if we look to Charlotte.
Oh
yeah.
man! Please, let's not go there. I won't be able to sleep tonight. And Matt, are you coming down to see your Charlotte 49ers?
No chance. No chance.
Oh man, the poor 49ers. They need their Semenza money. They need it. Speaking of which, by the way, guys, I had a question for you guys.
Somebody, wait, hold on. Something to do with Charlotte that just made me laugh. Going back to his press conference where he was blaming himself, putting everything on himself after the game, and one of our fans on Pirate Radio commented and said, "Why isn't he blaming the fans?" I said, "Because they ain't got nothing."
Oh my God, that's right. But how is it that they can get?
They put 15,000 in that stadium yesterday. I'll have you know.
Did they put 15,000 in there?
Yeah, and it had been sold out for a couple months.
How many of them were U.S. military?
That's a good question, but the game was sold out back in August, so and they were proud of it.
Well, congratulations to them.
How does the General Assembly?
Seats.
Yeah, how does the General Assembly give $25 million and we can't?
Boy, I'd like to know.
And why can't we get $25 million?
Don't bury the lead. Everybody might not watch and listen. Might not know what you're talking about. The General Assembly has a lot of $25 million.
25, whatever it is.
It's 25. I researched
many million.
It's 25 because there was another couple that gave 25 million.
Their original gift level that was going to match whatever their gift level was. It was 18. And as soon as General Assembly approved it, somebody donated $7,000 more dollars. It's $25 million. And I don't know how that's allowed because, to my knowledge, you're not allowed to do that unless it's something that improves academics. And I don't see how a football stadium does that.
All right. And by the way, if fired without cause, Houston will be owed the remainder of his base salary, the $1.4 million per year figure. Yeah. Firing him after the 23 season, $4.4 million.
But is there an offset clause, Pays? I know the numbers, but is there an offset clause? And what I'm saying is, if he gets a head coaching job at an FCS school and makes $100,000 a year,
Montgomery had that when he went to Maryland.
We had that in there for Ruffin. We had it in there for Scotty. We also had it in there for Scotty. So I pray to God Gilbert also continued that tradition at East Carolina and put the offset clause in there.
I'm not sure.
If he didn't, somebody needs to have a very strongly worded conversation with John Gilbert.
I mean, 4.2, 4.4 million is a lot of cash.
It's peanuts compared to what Texas A&M has to pay.
I understand that, but still,
But it ain't 4.4 million if there's an offset clause. That's why we need to know if there's because Mike Houston will get an FCS head coaching job immediately if that were to happen. I guarantee it. So that's why if we lose to Charlotte, we really need to start researching this. Hopefully, we're not having to worry about it. Hopefully, this time next week, we're sitting here going, we played well, boys. We beat Charlotte. Now let's see if we can keep it going.
And there won't be a tear in our beer anymore. I'm tired of the tears in our beers.
You want to sing that? I'll do the Hank Jr. part. You do the Hank Sr. part. You ready?
I can't do it. I love those two guys too much. I don't want to butcher it, but I love that song very much. Everything is better when you win. And that game is at 2:00 on Dowdy Ficklin Stadium, Bagway Field. And that's another national audience that we need to get people there. It's homecoming. By the way, that's another reason, guys, that will be depressing is Charlotte is so bad. And if we lose to them at homecoming, it's not like we're playing Tulane at homecoming. Okay. So oh my goodness, that is going to be tough. I don't want to even.
No, we just need a win. We need a win. Look, I embrace the Charlotte game at this point. They're in the conference. We need to win. They need to win. It's a rivalry game. I say we fully embrace it. We have fun with it. We look at it as a rivalry game. We go in there and have fun with it. Look, this week is a week that Pirate fans need to get out of the pity, get out of the pity party, whatever the hell you want to say. We need to have an attitude that we not know, oh God, I doubt we can cover the spread or blah, blah, blah. Our attitude needs to be we better beat Charlotte. That needs to be the message to Mike Houston, to that football team, to Jonathan Gilbert, Esquire. The message needs to be you better beat Charlotte.
So in other words, your ass is on the line. That's what you're saying.
Kyle, I got to take issue with something you just said, Kyle.
What's that? That's Jonathan Gilbert, Esquire.
Kyle Barber from LaGrange. Did you just call Charlotte a rivalry game?
Look at this year. Look, this year.
Those
yes,
words.
This year, yes, sir.
Those
Yes, sir.
words
This year,
come out of your mouth.
You better embrace it
from
this
LaGrange Barber.
That's the kind of shape we're in, Matt. That's the kind of shape we're in.
I love it, Matt. I love it.
That's the kind of shape we're in, Matt.
Hey, Matt, that's what brings ratings, baby. Keep bringing it. Come on.
That's the kind of shape we're in. That's the kind of shape we're in. That's where we are as a football program. You better embrace it. Let me tell you something. If you don't, let me tell you, Charlotte's going to come in here looking at it as a rivalry game. So if we don't embrace it, Charlotte's going to be fired up. You bet your ass. They got shut out by Navy. They're playing East Carolina. They're going to be fired up. So if we don't have the same intensity, the same attitude, and look at this as a must-win and approach it as a rivalry game, we are going to get beat. So you better. We ain't good enough to look down our nose at them. So you better embrace it this year.
Hey, Matt, you know how bad things are going with this football season?
I'm just telling how it is.
No, it's not that. Kyle and I are getting along way too well this football season. We have nothing to argue about this year. We don't have anything to argue about. So bad is bad. And but you know something? You can.
But do you get what I'm saying though? They're going to come in here looking at.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm just breaking balls. I mean, listen, we're at the point right now where we are.
Go for broke.
We cannot look down on anybody.
No.
You know, but
everybody thinks that winning football games are very easy, and then you have a situation like now where
Charlotte's defense is good. Their offense is like it's horrible. Our offense is probably maybe a hair better than theirs, but their defense is good. Look, they got shut out yesterday, but they held Navy to 14. So we ain't going to come if we. That's what I'm saying. If we beat them something like 24-7, I'll feel really good about things. I'm really honestly expecting a 17-10, 13-10, 10-7 type ball game, to be quite honest with you.
It's gonna be fun. You guys, so do you guys predict a win this week? Are you still on the ledge?
I'm going to predict the win. Yeah, I'm going to predict the win.
It doesn't. People always, Matt and Kyle. People always say ugly win. This year's a perfect example. There's no such thing as an ugly win. A win is a win as a win.
Yeah, I think we have to win. I think our backs are against the wall. We're at home. We better have more pressure on us than they do on them. There better be more pressure on Mike Houston and this football team than there is on Biff Posey and Poggi and the Charlotte 49ers. Yeah,
Hey.
to me, yeah, I'm predicting a win because we better win.
What do you think, Matt?
I think it's going to be one of the ugliest games in the history of college football.
Somebody's got to win. Is that what you're saying?
And it's just like somebody has to win.
We better win.
Put it this way: if it was a pick'em, if it was a pick'em line, pick'em spread, whatever, I would put my money on East Carolina.
Okay.
At the way it is though, what is the spread currently? Oh, I think
it went up and up at 9.5. Now it's 7.5.
Yeah, for me, I wouldn't go near it at that line. I just have no feel for this game. And Charlotte does play good defense. I mean, they had Florida had only scored, I think, in the fourth quarter of that game, they had only scored 17 points, and that was this team can play some defense. So they shut Navy out. I'm sorry, they did not shut Navy out. It was 14-0. They held Navy to 14 points. So it's getting late. I'm getting a little tired here, but that's a pretty impressive feat. Anytime you hold Navy to 14 points.
They got a good defense. They got a good defense. Yeah. I'm expecting, like I said, a 17-10, 13-10 type ball game. And hopefully I predict that we're going to win because we have to. We have to win this football game.
You know what I say to that? Nobody backs Donnie in a corner. That's what I'm just saying. Nobody backs Donnie in a corner. Donnie K. And I think he's been taking the sword for way too long. And I tell you one thing, if you guys, let me ask you guys this question. I failed the last few weeks to ask you guys. I was thinking about this like 3-4 games ago. If you're Donnie K and you obviously know how to coach offense a lot better than it's showing right now, believe it or not, do you guys rebel against MK and just say the hell with it? We're getting our asses kicked week after week. I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want.
MK.
MH, I meant to say Mike Houston.
Who the hell is MK? I don't know who's telling him not to roll the quarterback out. I get you're saying that we need to be more aggressive on offense, but I can't imagine that Mike Houston's going, you better not roll Garcia out. So I'm not sure that it's all Donnie being held back.
What do you think, Matt?
To be honest, I just don't know what's going on there anymore. And, all I can say is that if I was running that offense, we would not be sitting in the pocket. Occasionally, of course, but I'm moving the pocket. It's play action. It's boot action. It's getting on the perimeter, anything to avoid running up the middle and standing in the pocket.
Wildcat, like we were talking about. And when you were talking about the deep ball, that's what's so frustrating to me is that the whole idea is to set up is when you're running the football and you set the team up where they're, like you were talking about, Matt, they're loading the box at 8 because they know we're running the football. And that's when you throw that deep shot. If nothing else, it keeps the defense honest. I mean, that's football 101. And that's what's frustrating is that because I believe that both Flynn and Garcia can throw a deep ball. I really do. I mean,
of course they can throw a deep ball. They wouldn't be playing Division I football if they couldn't throw a deep ball.
So that's what I don't understand.
The offensive line's got to hold up for them, but like we've talked it to her blue in the face, you roll the quarterback out. Not only does it take advantage of base and strengths, it also helps the offensive line, which we really hadn't even talked about. So anyway, but look, I for my portion of the show, I'm done. I got something I have to go do. So I'm going to leave y'all with this, and you guys can close it out. We better beat Charlotte. Good night, and go Pirates.
All right. Thank you, Kyle, from LaGrange Bar, Hall of Famer from the fifth quarter call-in show on Pirate Radio. Matt always does a great job with that as well. Matt, do you have anything before we go? We'll close things out.
No, you know what? I think we said it all. Just wanted to thank everybody for tuning in. A lot of good comments and questions. Thanks to JR for providing some of those stats. JR just put up another one there. Charlotte had 24 first downs. 24 first downs. SMU's 20 when they played the Mustangs last week in Dallas. So another interesting stat. It's look, every week is we're going to have our hands full right now. So just hoping we can get a win. And I think that's all I had this week, Dave.
Yeah, the coaching speak, and we'll get out of here. The coaching speak always is one game at a time. Next up is Charlotte, so we don't need to ever look ahead. No doubt about that. All right. I want to remind everybody the Pirate Football Playback is presented by L&K Custom Homes. Thank you, Kevin Walker. Appreciate you so much, man. He's a licensed general contractor, and one of these days I'm going to get him to fix up my home. Call him now at 336-688-8461. A great Pirate like Matt Semenza. Put on that purple and gold. And we're going to have our Pirate preview, of course, Tuesday night as we look at the 49ers. Absolute Empowerment will come tomorrow night, being Monday night. If you're watching this live or if it's early Monday morning, don't forget about Coach C, Jeff Connors, with his great show. Love it every week, every Monday night. All right, for Matt, Bubba, Kyle, I am Dave. Thanks for all the callers and, all the people commenting on Facebook and YouTube. Good night, everybody. And as always, want to mention to you, go Pirates.
I'm a pirate down of my soul, and I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode, from the sidelines down to the post. Put it down like not even close, all out to the last whistle blow. For the flag with the soul and crossbones. Everybody stand up, get your hands up, let the team know that we got they back. This is our house, this is our town, our time, every 1-9 copy that. Everybody gonna see us go bananas, scream loud, but they don't hold back. Every foot, every yard, every first down, every touchdown with the cannons blast.